Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and this was our view a couple of weeks ago while I was on vacation, and we're going to give you a walkthrough of this oceanfront 3-bedroom townhome that was really cheap, but there's some reasons why it was really cheap, and we'll show you those as well. So we're in the panhandle of Florida, Panama City Beach. We love this area, and we really weren't planning to go anywhere on spring break, but found an awesome deal on this place and decided to jump on it. And it actually is somewhere we've stayed before a few years ago, except when we stayed there before, they had let it get a little bit run down. Paint was peeling, it was kind of a mess, and since then they've completely redone it. Now, by redone it, the HOA redid it, and so a place for this, I was curious, $1,450 a month for your HOA on this townhouse. Has a pool. Obviously includes exterior maintenance, probably some insurance, some other stuff. It's a little bit pricey for HOAs in Florida, especially on the ocean. We did get a sweet minivan, so that's always nice. But just going to this place, we weren't expecting a lot, and there's a lot of weird things and weird issues with it. But I knew that going in, and we obviously fix a lot of properties and do a lot of flips and rental properties that have issues, so it's not a big deal to us. But to other vacationers, I could definitely see how it might be a turnoff, or they might not like how this place was set up, or I don't say this a lot, but just had a lot of really, really cheap repairs done to it, or not even repairs, but lipstick on a pig is how you could definitely describe this place. Now, we love the area because of the ocean. We usually go during the summer when it's a little warmer. It was a little cooler during spring break. But still a lot of fun. Still had a lot of fun on the beach. Found a shark fin, which I was not expecting, and some other cool stuff. But here's walking up into this place for the first time. So it was night. We got there a little bit late. We paid, was it like $160 a night for this 3-bedroom townhouse directly on the beach with pool. So like I said, it was a smoking deal. I think probably the last time we stayed here, it was maybe $300, $400 a night. And we'll show you that place at the end. It's a different unit. Definitely set up a little nicer. But it was only a 2-bedroom too. And this one's a 3-bedroom. But the things we really care about when we go on vacation is there's enough room for all of us. I've got 13-year-old twins now, which is crazy. And then a 5-year-old as well. And so we like to have some space for everybody. And then, of course, we love to be on the ocean and close to the beach and be able to access that. So got there at a pretty cool time, right, with the sunset going down. The other really nice thing about this, too, is the last few times we've gone to this area, we've stayed on the 30A, farther west, closer to Destin. But we've had to fly into Pensacola because we couldn't find flights to Panama City Beach. We had direct flights to Panama City Beach, which is so much faster. Just worked out really, really well. Now, the water temperature was a little cool, but we were still in there, still having fun. Now, one thing we'll show you, too, an issue that is very dangerous. Last time we were here, we posted a video. We stayed at somewhere else over on the 30A. They had the shark attacks, and we saw sharks swimming all over the place. We also saw the really cool school of fish that time, too. We'll show you that here at the end as well. That was really neat to see that. Just a huge bait pod is what they call them. And but during that trip, they also had some riptides, and a couple of people had actually passed away from them. And people get scared of sharks. Riptides are way more dangerous. And during this trip, we had 3 or 4 days of double red flags where they don't even let you. You're not even supposed to go in the water like an inch. And they have flags up and planes flying around telling you not to go in the water. So we had a few good days, but also some bad days with the riptides. Have to be careful with those. And my son loves it too because we're close to the Navy, Air Force, and you've got fighter jets flying around all the time. But we'll show you more of this apartment during the day. This is my first look through at night. But just first impressions, the flooring was pretty all over the place and pretty atrocious. Furniture not amazing. Just the whole feel of it was pretty dated, pretty old. Again, doesn't really bother us. But if you're, an owner of this townhome and you're VRBOing it or Airbnb-ing it, whatever you're doing with the renting it, you probably could have gotten twice as much money had they made a few updates here, and it probably wouldn't have even cost them that much. And then as we stayed here for a while, found some really crazy stuff that you don't see too often in any kind of property. But you got your master bedroom, your master closet here with their big closet that's private for the owners, kind of a weird spot for that. And you've got a master bath. So 2 bedrooms upstairs, 1 bedroom on the main floor, a kitchen, living room, dining room on the main floor. Then you had a bathroom on the main floor and 2 bathrooms on the second floor. So 3 bedroom, 3 bath, tons of space. That was really nice. And these are pretty neat little properties. But they did get rid of some of the character they had before on the outside on the decks. We'll show you that at the end. They're just kind of pretty normal decks now. Before they were really interesting. I mean, the peeling paint wasn't great. But again, you're by the ocean with lots of salt and weather, so that's to be expected. And then, yeah, speaking of paint, quite get the closet all the way painted, and we'll show you more and more of that stuff as we go on. But then, yeah, here's the 3rd bedroom. And the light switches were real weird, too. They didn't quite work all the way, and you had to use pull switches. Again, if you're doing an Airbnb, you want to make it easy on your guests, and having to do pull switches and not figure out the lights can be a little frustrating. Again, first world problem there. But yeah, bathrooms were fine, but obviously hadn't been updated for quite a while. Pretty basic. And then, yeah, a little bit of moisture problems. And I think I show it, but underneath the sinks too, quite a few moisture problems. And again, that's something you're going to get in Florida, close to the ocean all the time. This is right on the front drive, right? I forget the road, but the main road right along Panama City Beach, along the ocean. And then here is the outside again. So you've got kind of that goes up to your main floor right there. Then you've got a second deck above that for your upstairs. And then this is the lower level that goes into your kind of garage / carport. So lots of different levels. And then you've got the beach, which is just huge. The beach is amazing in Panama City. Massive white sand beach, and really, really cool. That's not the property, that's something else, but I wanted to show the double red flags there as I went on a run. And then, water doesn't look that rough, but there's your airplane saying, don't go in the water, double red flag. And then one day, yes, it was very rough, and it was no doubt you didn't want to go in the water, even if it wasn't a double red flag at that point. But again, even with the rough weather, not even rough weather, rough seas, it's still fun. It's still nice, go on walks, hang out on the beach, and we had a really good time. And this is an example of a riptide. So basically, you got, your water close to the beach, and then there's some kind of break in a, sandbar out in the ocean, and the water rushes through it, and you get caught in that, and it flows you out into the middle of the ocean, and people fight against it, get tired, drown. So you definitely want to swim sideways or let it take you out and not fight against the current. So there's the crazy shark fin we found that washed up, and we might have seen parts of a shark that washed up too. I guess someone was fishing or something and decided they didn't need it. I wear size 14 shoe, so that was a pretty big chunk of meat sitting there. And in the first picture was a sponge, a giant sponge that washed up. Of course, we always do our sand castles and have fun, even if you can't touch the water. Technically, they're not going to do anything, most likely, if you're letting some of the water go in your sand castle pits. But I think those days weren't double red flag. Those were some of the nicer days. And yes, there's the example of the rip current. Now, some of you may have seen this too from a couple of years ago. There was a tornado that came through Panama City Beach and the house that fell over. It's still fallen over. So I guess there's lawsuits and they haven't figured out what to do with it, but it's pretty much made 3 houses uninhabitable and is still sitting there leaned against the other house. And that was the second time that house has fallen over in a storm onto other houses. But quite a bit of development, especially along the beach. People are building, people are developing, And we'll show you too at the end, a lot of concern. Oh, the sea levels are rising. These properties can disappear. We'll show you what they did last time we were here. That kind of maybe changes your mind a little bit about that. But yeah, some of the crazy stuff that we found later on, we'll go through that now. The wiring. I think those were cable wires, but not sure. That's the vent for the bathroom. Not quite secure, and it's odd that you have a pull string for one. Now, that was a telling sign. I'm like, oh, why is there paint on that picture? Because they didn't paint behind the picture. They left the picture up when they painted. Now, I don't know if it was the owners who did these things, or if it was the HOA who did these things, and the HOA's remodeling company. I'm not sure, but there was a lot of stuff going on. You've got the cords that are just along the ceiling that they textured. They did not even move the cord to texture the ceiling. That was an interesting one. And then those are all just plugged into regular outlets. And so there wasn't a ton of outlets available for us to use because they had so many lamps and lights and different stuff plugged into the walls. Now, little stuff like that all over, screws sticking out. Again, not deal breakers for us, but for other people who want to be picky, or if you want to pay top notch for a vacation rental, you probably don't want to see that kind of stuff, and you're probably going to leave a bad review. It's not going to help out the property owner. Other things. Almond old outlet and light switches covers all over. That's so easy to change and makes it feel so much more modern. And of course there's paint on it too because they didn't take those off to paint either, which is literally 4 screws. But simple stuff like that can make such a big difference in a property and make it feel so much newer and better. And highly recommend you do those things if you're selling, if you're renting, if you're VRBOing, whatever it is. Same thing with the smoke detectors, light fixtures, pretty easy to fix and make look way, way better. And just the paint they chose to. So yeah, that was pretty interesting with the sink and water and all the sounds it made. Downstairs, again, at least you had a chain with your light switch there, but then you could see the plant hook they used was coming out of the ceiling, and so dirty and ugly and not the same color of the wall. And again, those were using up so many of the outlets with lamps, lights. Again, here was some of the wiring coming from outside. Probably not how I would have done it. I might have done a different configuration there with your cable. I think it's cable. Hopefully it's cable. But yeah, it was an odd little thing. Something else that was a little frustrating for my wife, I didn't bother me too much. The TVs, half of the TVs didn't work. And I didn't care that much. We watched just a little bit of TV, some of the basketball in March Madness and different shows here and there. But my wife likes to watch TV when she goes to bed, and we couldn't watch it. And so they actually came over, and the HOA is pretty helpful, and said they had to get new TVs. But again, I'm sure that's been going on for a long time. It's just we're the first ones to tell them about it, or maybe not, just the first time. Or who knows, maybe they didn't go get new TVs. Maybe they just said they were going to, and then they'll have the same configuration. But again, that lamp at least had conduit going for the wiring to the wall, but then it was bent wiring that did not look very safe, and yeah, not exactly how we would have done it. But the windows were newer. I think the HOA put those in as part of their remodeling to put in hurricane proof windows. So big reason why insurance is so expensive in Florida is because of building codes requiring hurricane proof windows and all the stuff they require. Now people can say, oh, that makes them safer, that makes them last. True. But the trade-off is your insurance is insane. And there's some other reasons why insurance is insane in Florida too, with some of their laws and being able to sue insurance companies for damages and different things. But, that's a big concern in Florida right now, especially on the coast, just those costs. And that could be a huge part of the cost for the HOA too, is insurance. And I probably wouldn't give guests access to electrical panel. This might be where I would have made my owner's private closet down here. And then I think that's just cardboard. So we were trying to figure out that those water lines, we believe, went down to the stairs underneath our unit to the water heater that I think was making all those crazy sounds down there. So, and then, we also want to check out the pool, because the pool is right next door. And while I was down there, I'm like, oh man, maybe it isn't the owners of this particular unit that had the wiring issue. Maybe it's the HOA, because this is definitely the HOA's responsibility. And it looks eerily similar. Maybe it's the cable company. I don't know. But it did have a nice pool. It was just raining a little bit one day here. Not too busy. And then this building here had that's another thing. The gutters, which we think were new from the last couple of years, were just dumping water over the top of them, holes in them. And like maybe they didn't replace the gutters when they redid all the outside of the property, because those are not in very good shape. Or if they did redo them, man, hopefully they got a discount, because they do not look very good. I couldn't tell. My jumping ability is greatly diminished since I tore my calf muscle. So it's mostly better now, but I definitely am not trying to jump as high as I can anymore. So, yeah, I could not figure out if these gutters were new or if they just used the old ones, because it sure seemed like they spent a lot of money and did a lot of work on the outside of the buildings, but then the gutters were leaking, which wasn't amazing. That's the pool maintenance room, which probably shouldn't be open because there's so many kids in that pool most days. Sometimes supervised, sometimes not. And then, what is it? Just full of water. So I'm not sure what's going on there. And I didn't even realize this. My wife thought I was crazy. I'm like, oh, there's bathrooms at the pool. She's like, yeah, of course there's bathrooms. Like, well, there's no sign on them. I didn't realize they had bathrooms down there. And, yep, they sure do. There you go. Another interesting thing I saw last time we were here as a real estate investor, because we went to the pool. This property right here, this guy got the rusted nail holes, was totally dilapidated, run down. Last time we were here, it looked abandoned, had a broken deck, all kinds of siding issues. And since then, they have fixed it up, rehabbed it. There were people staying there. Still have some rust from the nail holes, but, you're next to the ocean. So I'm guessing they used the wrong nails there. But that was the type of the property, like, oh, if I could figure out how to buy that one, that'd be fantastic. Get a place on the beach, just run down, fix it up. But I know there's obviously some issues in Florida, like all contractors have to be licensed. So I'm not sure how that works with DIY if you're a homeowner. Then the insurance issues, different things. But yeah, every time I come down here, it kind of piques my interest of buying a place on the beach. And no, I'm not worried about it being sucked into the ocean. Maybe I should be, but I feel like every time we come here, the ocean is pretty much the same as the last time we were here. And then, we'll show you in our previous video what they do as well for the beach and helping that out. And the ocean wasn't quite as pretty this time, just because it's a little rougher. But we did have a couple days where it was pretty neat, of course. Usually it's very blue, very clear. And we can see some currents that one day, as you can see. But here is what it looked like before. And this was 3-4 years ago. We stayed here, an exact same complex, and they had what my wife called a poop deck there that kind of sat above the other decks. And you can see the condition was definitely not pristine. Again, it didn't bother us any, but they came through and redid all of that here in the last couple of years. And our unit was kind of in the middle this time. There's a lot of them. There must be 50 of these, at least 50 of these units. So we were right next to the pool this time, and last time we were kind of right in the middle. And it was quite a trek to the pool, which didn't bother us any, but just to give a perspective of how big this was. And you can see they all kind of had that deck that extended. And we saw, I think there were 2 units that still had that little deck right there, and all the rest had gotten rid of them. Just had a flat, boring deck, nothing too fancy. And then, yeah, here was the deck from the unit's perspective with the little raised area right there. And then this is what that unit looked like. Same floor plan, except it had 2 bedrooms instead of 3. And they just only had 1 bedroom upstairs instead of 2 is how it changed. But just the whole feel, you know, you've got the shiplap ceiling, a little more modern furniture, flooring was a little more cohesive, kitchen a little more updated. Just made it feel quite a bit nicer. Don't see too many cords hanging from the ceiling and other issues like that. But still, like I said, not complaining for the price we paid, and still had a blast and got a great deal. So it's still a lot of fun. But just from the perspective of owners or getting rent, or if you're renting out places, you know, obviously redoing the kitchen completely could be a little, you know, extreme. But some of the other stuff a little bit minor. And maybe we stayed here 3 times. I think we did. I think I just showed another unit we stayed at even longer ago. So apparently we really like this place. And I think this is the one where I had my daughter. That's right, Irely was like 1, and we were giving a bath in the sink, and the sink fell through. Whoops. And she didn't weigh very much. But think they came and fixed that real quick for us. That was nice of them. You know, carpet, a little more updated. Bathrooms, a lot more updated. And then here's what we were talking about with the beach. So we were here 3-4 years ago. That's a sand dredge out there. It was really cool to see what was going on and what was happening. The dredge isn't there right now, but that's all the pipe that goes to it, and the dredge would show up, dredge sand from the ocean, and then they would pump it onto the beach. There's the dredge right there. And pretty interesting process, and just something to think about. You know, you're worried about sea levels rising or the ocean, you know, eating away property. There's a lot that can be done to counteract that. It's not like people just have to sit back and let it happen. And there's a lot of work they do now to keep the beach as nice as it is and keep it from eroding and washing away. Another example would be Galveston, that had the huge hurricane in like 1910 or 1900. They raised the whole city like 10 feet. Crazy feat of engineering back then. But they raised the entire city to protect against hurricanes and protect from that in the future. And pretty extreme measure to take, but there's pretty amazing engineering that happens in this world. So that was the place, that was the property. And then last time we were in Florida, I just want to leave with a crazy bait pot experience. That was kind of cool and fun. This is at a different property, not quite the same area, about 20 miles away. But thanks for watching. We'll have many more updates on our flips, rental properties, the liquor store, the laundromats, all that coming up. And if we go back on vacation, we'll show you the properties we stay at as well. What kind of fish are they? If you want to. Cool.
You're going on like a full walk.
I don't have swimsuit on.